What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. As you can see, we're back on our Arc 3.0 Titan here, going over another melee build with the Exotic Boots Peregrine Greaves, which gives us that extra bonus damage on those shoulder charges. When we're airborne, we can do some massive damage on some of our majors, champions, bosses. As always, we're going over our Striker subclass here with our Thunder Crash for that nice extra DPS and those endgame activities. We're using Towering Barricade and Strafe Lift with our Seismic Strike Arc melee. After sprinting for a short time, you activate a charged melee that shoulder charges first into the target, damaging and blinding enemies in the area around it. When we're amplified, that blinding radius is increased and we become amplified very quickly with this build as well, partially because of these storm grenades that we're going to be using, paired with the touch of thunder arc aspect, which those storm grenades, after detonating, creates a roaming thundercloud that tracks nearby targets and fires bolts of lightning. Helps us super good with ad clear and actually pretty heavy on the DPS side as well. For our second one, we're using Knockout, so critically wounding targets or breaking their shield infuses our melee attack with arc energy, increasing its range and damage for a short period of time. This is nice to stack that with our Peregrine Greaves, so we're getting some pretty gnarly damage on just a shoulder charge. Now for our fragments that we got going on here, first off we got Spark of Feedback, so taking that melee damage briefly increases our output for melee damage, so again stacking with Knockout and our Peregrine Greaves for that extra oomph on our melee attacks. Next we have Spark of Resistance, so while surrounded by combatants you are more resistant to incoming damage. This is nice since we are getting that 10 strength, and with this build we're getting hot and heavy in the mix, doing damage on those bigger champions and bosses, so it's nice to have that resistance on incoming damage when we're surrounded. Third, right here we have Spark of Recharge, so when we're critically wounded, your melee and grenade recharge faster, so that helps us get our Seismic Strike back faster as well as our Storm Grenade, even though we do have 100 strength, so we're getting back our shoulder charge very fast, and we do have some mods on that help, but with that endgame activity, very easily to get critically wounded just by one shot sometimes, so it helps with that recharge and being able to spam our abilities a little bit faster. And last but not least here, Spark of Momentum, sliding over ammo bricks reloads your weapons and grants small amount of melee energy. This is nice for reloading the shotgun we're going to be using, as well as giving us a little bit of melee energy on top of that. Now right here, moving on to our weapons and armor pieces. First off, we're going to have the trusty Dusty for melee builds, the Monte Carlo with Markov Chain. Weapon damage reduces melee ability cooldown, and when you get those defeats, sometimes it fully replenishes your melee, so super good with having shoulder charge pretty much consistently with this build. Next off, we're using a Sudden Death. This is an arc shotgun with 1-2 punch on it, so when we hit all of those pellets in a shot, it increases our melee damage for a short duration, stacking perfect with our Knockout, Spark of Feedback, and our Peregrine Greaves. Plus, with the combination of auto rifle, shotgun, and LMG, we can work through all of our champion types in Barrier with Monte Carlo, Unstoppable in Sudden Death, and then our Overload right here with our Fixed Odds, Feeding Frenzy, Incandescent. Love it for mapping champions in the LMG right now, and with that Solar Burn Incandescent, super good at ad clear and just keeping enemies away in that end game content. Next off, for our armor pieces over here, like I said, I'm rocking 100 resilience for our Titan, as well as 100 strength to help us get our shoulder charge back super fast. Now on our helmet right here, we're going to have Shotgun Ammo Finder and Harmonic Siphon, both helping our Sudden Death to get ammo, and when we get rapid defeats with that archetype, we're going to create Orbs of Power. We also have Elemental Charge on this bad boy, so when we pick up an Arc Elemental well, we're going to become charged with light, stacking up to ×2, which comes into play later on with our melee. Next right here we have Well of Ions, as well as our champion mods. the way that I have this set up with anti-barrier and overload right now, you can switch either of those to put on the unstoppable shotgun. So it's very, very nice to have that mobility and versatility on these gauntlets, plus that Well of Ions when we pick up those Arc Elemental Wells. Besides just making us charged with light with Elemental Charge, we're also getting Well of Ions to proc, again giving us another melee damage increase to our shoulder charge, stacking perfectly with everything that I've talked about so far in Knockout, Spark of Feedback, our Peregrine Greaves, as well as 1-2 punch on our shotgun. For our chest piece right here, to stay alive a little bit better, we're going to be using solar damage resistance and arc damage resistance with melee damage resistance for that endgame activity. And then we do also have elemental ordnance on this, so when we get defeats with those storm grenades, since they are super crazy powerful on Arc Titans, we are going to create a decent amount of Arc Elemental Wells for us to proc Well of Ions as well as Elemental Charge. Now on to the shining star of this build, the Peregrine Greaves Exotic Boots. Our armor perk on this, Peregrine Strike, all shoulder charge abilities, Seismic Strike, Hammer Strike, and Shield Bass gain bonus damage when activated in the air. So you do have to make sure you are jumping when you use this, but you will see this proc on the left hand side of your screen. Provides a small benefit to airborne effectiveness for all weapons, not as important in the PvE realm as it is in PvP, but still nice when you're jumping around trying to hit that target way in the back in some of those Grandmasters. This can help you out that slight little bit. For our mods, we're going to have Charged Up, allowing us to stack an additional charge with light, so allowing us to stack that up to ×3 from picking up an Arc Elemental Well, and then we're going to just have Scavenger on for both our machine gun and our shotgun. Last but not least, where that charge with light comes into play is on our class item right here with heavy-handed. While charged with light, we regain half of our melee energy when you use a charge melee, consuming 1 stack of charge with light. Additionally, while we are surrounded by multiple combatants, defeating a combatant with a fusion rifle, shotgun, sidearm, or SMG adds ammo for that weapon from your reserves, so that pairs perfectly with our shotgun in a sudden death. And because we're getting that stacked to ×3 with charge with light, because of Charged Up and everything that we have on our armor pieces, we are able to use our melee pretty much consistently, especially when we're charged with light, and we're getting that super easily and amplified just by getting defeats with our grenades, proccing those Arc Elemental Wells. You can see we are going through a Nightfall and just absolutely going through, destroying everything with our shoulder charge on this boss. When we're doing it, I know it's the Saber Strike, so it is kind of like a Lake of Shadows, very easy boss fight, everything like that. But when we get everything to proc and use a shoulder charge, we're taking out a good third, if not even 60%, half of his health with nice, just one single airborne melee in shoulder charge. Everything in this build is super easy and fun to use. Like I said, versatility of our champion mods between our Monte Carlo, our sudden death shotgun, as well as our solar LMG in fixed odds. So very good for endgame, very good for some high DPS. I know Heart of Innermost Light is probably everyone's go-to for that endgame, but if you're trying to switch up the meta a little bit and still have some fun, this works perfectly for raids. Like I said, master GMs, everything been tested, works wonders. So thank you guys so much for watching, truly appreciate it. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.